What's up YouTube? Today I want to talk about ring modulation in Phase Plant. Let's dive in and have a look. So traditionally, ring modulation is quite tricky to use based on the fact that it kind of sounds best when tuned to the specific frequency of the sound that you're using. And, it's all said and done tuning that, a sine oscillator in the sort of effect plugin to the specific pitch of the sound that you're using. But when you start to use it in a melodic context, it can get particularly difficult. One thing, for example, that Serum did to counteract that is to use ring modulation as a warp mode, which is pretty cool. And a lot of people have been asking, why Phase Plant doesn't have warp modes and all sorts of stuff. And it's because you can do a lot of that type of stuff by just thinking out the box a little bit. Basically, in this episode, I want to show you guys how you can use a tuned oscillator to ring modulate another oscillator, so you can use it in a more melodic context. But then I also want to show you guys a really interesting technique with vocal material to get some, distorted, warbly kind of granular sounds. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyway, so if you're not following what's happening here with this particular lead sound, I showed you guys the melody in the last episode, so I'm going to skip the MIDI for that. But what I'm going to do here is let's just add in a analog. So here, if we add the ring mod, what it has is it's basically got a frequency kind of built in. I guess you could set up a note modulator and send that to the frequency, but then you'd have to kind of tune it and all sorts of stuff, so it could get a little bit difficult. The easiest way to set this up is to set the input over here to sideband. And then what we want to do is we want to create a new group over here. We want to create another analog. Let's just set this to sine wave, and let's create an output over here. So instead of sending this output to lane 1, let's set this to sideband. So this is now going to be our ring modulator's oscillator. So I find you've got to boost this gain up to 0 to get it to sound like the built-in oscillator over here. So let's quickly compare these differences. Okay, so that's the basic concept. So obviously I'd put like more effects on here to, you know, fatten this lead sound up a little bit. But you guys get the picture. I'm sure you can recreate that. Or what I'm actually going to do is just save this for my Patreons real quick. So now I want to show you guys an interesting technique for vocal stuff. So again, I'm going to use the Zenosonics vocal pack, and I'm just going to find something random here.
Hallucinations. Hallucinations.
And I just want to show you guys another little pro tip over here. So let's set this to infinite. So this is, I want to show you guys a way of creating, or, you know, I guess it's not changing the speed of the sample, but essentially you're creating a granular-like way of working with these samples by using this loop points over here and then modulating the start position of the loop point. And it's a way of being able to kind of slow down the playback of the samples within Phase Plant. And you can use this crossfade to kind of clean it up a little. So I want to create an envelope that we can use to modulate this.
Hallucinations.
Hallucinations. Hallucination. Hallucination.
Okay, so let's put ring modulator on here. So here what we want to do is set up a similar thing, not sideband, set up a similar thing to what we had earlier with a separate group. Let's create an analog, set this to sine wave, and create another output. Set this to sideband.
Hallucinations. 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 Hallucination. Hallucinations.
Okay, so once we've got that set up, what I want to show you guys is let's set this output of the sampler to modulate the phase of the sine wave. So if you go too much, it gets a little bit wobbly, but you can get some really cool textures out of this. And then playing with the key or the semitones and harmonics of each of these layers.
Hallucinations. 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 Hallucinations.
So you could also go crazy and do like a LFO on the pitch. Okay, it's a little bit wild. So this unison on the ring modulator oscillator does some really, really wild stuff. Kind of like creates a sine texture on the panning. So here what I want to do is I want to use the same envelope to kind of turn it down to create like a moving effect in that panning. Anyway, unfortunately, I can't save that preset because it's obviously got samples involved and stuff, and you've got to pay for those samples. But I'm going to save the other one to my Patreon for all my $5 supporters. If you want to know what that's all about, check out the link that's going to be on the screen right now. Yeah, if you enjoyed this, leave a comment or hit that like button or consider subscribing if you haven't already. Yeah, see you guys next time. Cheers.